Get ready, Padres fans. It's time for the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network.
Tatis at third, 2 outs. Fernando takes off. He's going to steal home without a play.
Coming up, we'll have a recap of the previous Padres game, a preview of today's starting pitching matchup, and our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Mike Schultz. From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today the Padres take on the Cincinnati Reds in the second game of a 3-game series. Our starting pitching matchup for the Reds, right-hander Nick Martinez, and for the Padres, right-hander Yu Darvish. Hi, good everyone. Sam Levitt here at the loft inside the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. First pitch coming up at 6:40 as the Padres look to snap a 5-game losing skid. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, we'll hear from Padres manager Mike Schultz. We'll also hear from Padres DH tonight, Manny Machado. And in just a few minutes, we check in with Padres radio voice, Jesse Agler. But first, let's set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations, La Mesa, Vista, and Oceanside. Padres entered today with a record of 14-18. Padres just 3-9 in their last 12 games. Now 5 consecutive losses going back to Thursday in Colorado. Not going well right now. Padres have been outscored 27-12 in the last 4 games. Meanwhile, the Reds are 16-13 to begin the season. It has not been a perfect start to the year for Cincinnati, but they actually have a chance to match a franchise record with 17 wins before the start of May. Good pitching matchup here tonight. Yu Darvish comes off the IL to make his first start in a couple of weeks. Nick Martinez makes his return to Petco Park to face his former team. Martinez, of course, a big part of this pitching staff the past couple of years. Before we focus on today's game, let's take a quick look back at what was a frustrating Monday night here in downtown San Diego.
How did the Padres fare in their last game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind. Presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
Matt Waldron took the mound for the Padres in the top of the first inning. Waldron struck out the leadoff man, but then it was Elly De La Cruz.
The 0-2 to De La Cruz, sent in the air to deep center field. Zokar's back to watch. This one gonna go into the second deck of the bullpen to the left of center field. Well, he's fast, but he can also do that. 8th home run of the year for De La Cruz, and one of the more impressive blasts we have seen at Petco this season. The Reds take a 1-0 lead in the first.
That was all Waldron allowed in the first inning. In the bottom half, Nick Lodolo took the mound for Cincinnati. Jurickson Profar led off.
Issue he had last year. And Profar hammers one to deep left field. Steer is back to look. Gonna go. Long home run to left for Profar. And a leadoff home run. 1-1 here in the first.
Well, the Reds responded in the top of the second. They got runners on second and third. A sac fly made it 2-1. A balk with a runner on third base made it 3-1. In the bottom half of the second, the Padres had a golden scoring opportunity after Lodolo walked the first 2 batters, but then he bounced back to strike out the bottom third of the Padres lineup to get out of the jam. In the top of the third, the Reds got a leadoff double from Will Benson. He was still on second base for Spencer Steer.
Pitch is a knuckleball line fair over Machado and down the left field line into the corner. Benson will score easily. Steer is going to replace him at second base. It's an RBI double, and now a 4-1 Reds lead in the third.
After getting out of the jam in the second, Lodolo was literally perfect through the rest of his outing. He would retire 18 consecutive batters through the end of the 7th inning. He allowed only the Profar leadoff home run. Reds still led 4-1. Meanwhile, Matt Waldron settled in. He ended up going 6 innings, giving up just the 4 early runs to keep the Padres in it. Padres went down 1-2-3 in the 8th inning. That was 21 consecutive batters retired. Padres trailed 5-1 going bottom 9. The streak went to 23 straight batters retired as the Padres went down 1-2 to begin the 9th inning against Alexis Diaz. Jake Cronenworth then hit a 2-out double. Manny Machado was next.
Pitch to Machado, swung on, hit through the right side and a base hit. Cronenworth is rounding third. Benson's throw will be cut off. RBI single Manny Machado, and it's 5-2 here in the bottom of the 9th.
The Padres would then get the tying run to the plate, down 5-2. Ha-Sung Kim dug in.
Thinking about a game here in June of 2021. Ha-Sung Kim, a 2-run home run in the 8th inning against the Reds. This time, though, he'll swing and miss strike 3, and the ball game is over. Padres showed some fight in the bottom of the 9th inning, but too much quiet out of the bats here tonight against Lodolo and Cruz, and the Reds take game 1 of this series by a final of 5-2.
A little too late for the Padres as, again, they drop it 5-2 last night in the series opener against Cincinnati. As we get ready for first pitch coming up at 6:40 here in downtown San Diego, let's go inside the Padres radio booth.
Let's go inside the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup from Jesse Agler in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
We say hello to Jesse Agler as we get ready for Game 2 of this 3-game series between the Padres and the Reds. Jesse, as always, appreciate the time. Let's have a little state of the Padres here. Obviously, it's been a frustrating stretch, 5 straight losses. The pitching hasn't been great. Offense hasn't been great. How are you feeling as we begin this game here tonight with Yu Darvish on the mound for San Diego once again?
I am feeling like I ate too much pizza a few minutes ago, but I guess that's not what you're asking about. But to give you the honest answer of how I'm feeling, that's it. I think, the lack of consistency in a lot of areas would be the thing that, I would like to see improved upon, in the month ahead. And maybe that means starting pitching. Maybe that means the offensive approach, whatever it might be. I think we have seen high highs. I think we have seen low lows. That is certainly familiar to people who followed the team a year ago, and I think we all understand that's not really a sustainable, ideal recipe over the course of the entire summer. So, I'd like to see the ebbs and the flows narrowed a little bit, the peaks and valleys, the crests and troughs, however you want to say it, a little bit less extreme both directions maybe when it comes to all of that, across the board. And now, is it realistic to ask everything to be cleaned up in the month of May? Probably not. But, at least some of that maybe. That when you and I are sitting here having this conversation on the last day of the next month, that we're saying, hey, remember how inconsistent, this or that was? Seemed like it was a lot better in the second month of the season. And, of course, that'll be no guarantee that it's just as good in June as it was in May. But, so goes the baseball season. But, yeah, I'd like to see a little bit more consistency. Obviously, at the end of this month, 14 and 18, having lost 5 straight, not where you want to be, but a very good few days before these very bad 5 days, and I guess that goes to what I'm talking about.
Jesse, interesting pitching matchup here tonight. Yu Darvish coming off the IL for San Diego. Our old friend Nick Martinez on the mound for Cincinnati. Obviously, Nick had a big role on this pitching staff the last couple of seasons. Let's focus on Yu Darvish. I think you could make the argument that when you need a stopper, when things aren't going well, Yu Darvish is one of those guys you really want on the mound in a time like this.
No, there's no doubt about that. Now, how much he's able to give tonight is something of an open question. He didn't have a rehab appearance, and I know it's only the 15 days that he missed. He came back as quickly as the rules allowed, since his last start on the 14th at Dodger Stadium. But nonetheless, there probably is a reasonable limit to what he's going to be able to provide tonight in terms of pitches and innings. So I'll get into that certainly with scans early on in the game. I'd love to hear what he thinks about it. I don't know the number, you don't know the number, but I guarantee you Mike Schilt knows the number and Ruben Niebla knows the number. And so, if he can, if let's say it's 75 or 80 pitches, if there's a big difference between that being 3 innings and 6 innings, right? And so if he's able to, be efficient and kind of work deeper into the game, that would be huge. Remember also that for Darvish this year, in really all but one of his starts, he's had 1 inning in which it's just been seemingly impossible to get the final out. He had a 36-pitch third inning in his last start. He had a 42-pitch second inning the start before that, a 25-pitch sixth inning the start before that. And in his debut in Korea, he had a 34-pitch third inning against the Dodgers. So, again, in all but one start this year, he's had that one inning where the pitch count really runs up. That's something to keep a really close eye on tonight, again, because he's not going to be fully unleashed out there coming off the injury.
Yeah, and a good point on the pitch count for you, Darvish, and Mike Schilt. We'll hear from him coming up in our next segment. He didn't want to tell the number of as far as what that pitch limit might be, but it does sound like it might be a little bit limited today for you, Darvish. Maybe somebody like Johnny Brito comes in out of the bullpen if the Padres need some innings. We'll see. Padres trying to snap this 5-game losing skid. Jesse, as always, appreciate the time. We'll talk to you and Bob Scanlon coming up at 6:30. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Sam.
All right, that is Jesse Agler joining us here on the Padres Radio Network on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. First pitch at 6:40, and we've got a lot to do between now and then. When we come back, we'll hear from Padres manager Mike Schilt. Plus, coming up a little bit later, we hear from today's DH, Manny Machado. We have our keys to the game, a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, and much, much more to get to. As always, if you want to get involved on our pregame coverage, you can do that in a number of different ways. You can do it on Twitter. Tweet at me, Sammy Lev, SAMMYLEV. You can do it on Instagram. Instagram DMs are open, SAMMYLEV. DM me. Let me know who you are, where you're tuned in from, and if you have a key to tonight's game for the Padres, let me know what that is. And if you are watching our pregame show from Petco Park right now, we are video streaming on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. You can comment on YouTube. Let me know who you are, where you're tuned in from. If you have a key to tonight's game, might just read your comment, your tweet, or your DM live here on the air. Again, the Padres come in a record of 14-18. Reds at 16-13. It's certainly been a very, very tough homestand for the Padres 4 games in. But the good news about baseball, really the beauty of baseball, is that the next day, most of the time, there's another game. You have another opportunity to turn things around. We'll see if the Padres can do that here tonight. First pitch at 6:40. This is the Padres Radio Network. Welcome back to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network. Your water perfected. EcoWater SoCal, your water should be perfect. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we get ready for Game 2 of this three-game series between the Padres and the Reds. Good pitching matchup here tonight. Couple of guys we know well here in San Diego. Yu Darvish on the mound for the Padres. Nick Martinez on the mound for the Reds. Yes, that Nick Martinez, a big part of this pitching staff, certainly in 2022 and 2023. We'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt in just a moment. We'll also tell you who's hot, who's not. Do want to focus on one thing I mentioned last night during the post-game show and had some tweets and some messages about it, and that is the Padres and how they've played here at home. Padres have to do a better job winning here at home. Padres so far through 18 home games, just 6-12. And in night games here at Petco Park this season, the Padres are now 1-9 in 10 night games here in San Diego. By the way, the lone win in night games here in San Diego, that was the game where they trailed 8-0 against the Cubs. Padres pitchers in night games here have a 5.70 ERA. They're hitting as a team just 199, averaging just more than 2.5 runs per game during night games here at home. So that's all got to be better. We'll see if the Padres can bounce back here tonight in Game 2 of this three-game series. First pitch coming up at 6:40, and yes, of course, a night game here at home. Before we hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt, let's quickly pause for Station ID on the Padres Radio Network. Mike Shildt, as always, spoke with the media before today's game. Let's find out what the skipper had to say.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Presented by Sinley Food. Spice up your culinary life.
A couple of notes before we hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Just had a gift dropped off to me here inside the Western Metal Building. Thank you very much. All right, back to Mike Shildt. As always have people coming by and saying hello here inside the Western Metal Building. Always a lot of fun. All right, Mike Shildt. Couple of notes before we hear from Mike today. Number one, Nick Martinez on the mound for Cincinnati, so that's an interesting matchup for the Padres tonight. Padres facing their former teammate, but also the Padres did have to make a move today with Yu Darvish coming off the 15-day IL. The move was Tom Cosgrove being optioned back to AAA El Paso. Had been a bit of an up-and-down start to Cosgrove's season. And obviously, Tom Cosgrove, a big part of the Padres bullpen last year, really had a terrific rookie season. So I'm sure disappointing for Tom. He is heading back to AAA El Paso. And again, that was the corresponding move for Yu Darvish coming off the IL. Here was Mike Shildt earlier today.
I know that your role was different when Nick Martinez was here in past years, but what can you say about what he meant to the clubhouse and some of the guys that are still here, as well as what you expect to see from him on the mound today?
It meant a lot. This guy's he's brings a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of competitive spirit. I enjoyed, and I saw Nicky yesterday. Always enjoyed my time with him. I got a lot of respect for him. He brought a lot of different things, a lot of different roles, relative to, he started the hybrid role. He's a big part of the 22 club, part of last year that was successful as well. And what we're going to, we know what he is, know who he is, we know how he goes about it, and now it's about us making sure we can execute it.
What are your expectations for Yu Darvish today?
To most of our starters, he's going to be on a pitch count, which I'm not going to announce for clear reasons, and because it could be a plus or minus depending on how hard he's working. But really, just like everything, just control counts and get out there. And biggest thing for me is making sure for him coming off, a little bit of a setback and an IL situation that he's got there and he looks healthy and ball's coming out clean.
Cosgrove, what can you attribute his struggles to? Because he had such a breakout year last year and just was not pitching to that level. Tommy's a big league pitcher, is now just going to get a little bit of a reset in AAA and expect to see him back hopefully sooner than later. He's a big part of our group and success, one of our most reliable relievers last year. and just hadn't been able to get any consistency, as much consistency as he or we would have liked. I think the biggest thing is really just making sure he's getting a little more finish, a little more, bite on the sinker. And like everything else, just about being able to put it where he wants to consistently and getting guys off balance.
Jerks and Profar, obviously another big moment yesterday. When he showed up during spring training, we talked about the impact he could have on a clubhouse. But now in your seat this season, watching the kind of impact he continues to have on the field, in the clubhouse, so what does he do day to day that really impresses you?
First of all, he's really a smart baseball player. He competes really, really well. He's a winning player. He sees the game, and then he uses his skill set to be able to compete. So he's consistently got a good approach. He knows what the situation calls for, and then he has the ability to go have the intent to execute. And right now he's executing at a very high level. But he's done a nice job, defensively and on the bases, and just a winning player that sees the game well and knows how to compete.
That was Mike Shildt before today's game. There was one more question. That was an interesting one for Mike Shildt earlier today amidst the Padres' offensive struggles as of late. Padres actually had optional batting practice today, and Mike Shildt was asked about that before today's game.
So, yeah, we had optional batting practice. We're in the very back end of 13 in a row, and we got a day game tomorrow. So this is a very hard-working, intentional group of how they prepare, and now we're giving them the benefit of showing up, and we're going to get our ground balls, as you can see, and then making sure that guys either want to get their work to get ready for the game in the cage or want to do it on the field. And so that's a pretty normal thing, and it's a trust situation with our guys.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt before today's game inside the Padres dugout. We'll hear more from Mike Shildt coming up on our post-game show later on tonight. Sam Levitt with you here inside the loft at the Western Metal Building here at Petco Park as we walk you up towards first pitch at 6:40. Good pitching matchup here tonight between Yu Darvish and former Padre Nick Martinez. Now let's tell you who's hot, who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to kick things up another notch? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not on the Padres Radio Network.
We'll focus solely on the Padres here tonight for Who's Hot, Who's Not, because right now it is all about the Padres offense, and this offense kicking things into gear. Let's start with the hot category. Luis Campusano has been very good as of late. His last 11 games, batting .333 with a home run, 4 doubles, 7 RBIs, and .912 OPS in his last 36 at-bats. In the not category, Fernando Tatis Jr., he's batting just .130 in the past 12 games. That's a span of 46 at-bats. Xander Bogaerts also batting just .188 in his last 17 games with only 2 extra base hits in that span. So Fernando and Xander in the not category. I'm going to have more on those two alongside Manny Machado coming up a little bit later in our pregame coverage. But that's a look at who's hot, who's not as we get ready for Game 2 of this 3-game series. And speaking of Manny Machado, we'll hear from Manny what he had to say earlier today inside the Padres clubhouse. When we come back, we'll also have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, our keys to the game, and much, much more to come as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 6:40 here in downtown San Diego. This is the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 6:40 between the Padres and the Cincinnati Reds. A lot to do here in this segment. We'll hear from Manny Machado coming up in just a little bit. We'll also take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, and I'll give you my keys to the game. We have a lot of keys to the game coming in on YouTube in the comments section, via Twitter, Instagram. Again, you can tweet at me or Instagram DM me or comment on one of our video streams on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube with your keys to the game. Let me know who you are, where you're tuned in from on this Tuesday evening. And again, we'll have our keys to the game coming up here in just a little bit. First, let's update you on the injuries for the Padres and the Reds entering Game 2 of this three-game set.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
A couple of injury updates for you. Let's start with the Reds. Christian Encarnacion Strand underwent an MRI yesterday after he was hit in the left hand by a pitch in Saturday's game. He is not in the lineup here today, not on the IL either, but could be in the lineup at some point. Maybe tomorrow, we'll see, sometime this week. But again, Encarnacion Strand got hit by a pitch over the weekend, not in the lineup yesterday, not in the lineup here today. Tyler Stevenson for the Reds also considered day-to-day right now after he was hit by a pitch in the hand as well over the weekend against the Rangers. As far as the Padres injury news, well, we have a big update as of today, right? Yu Darvish coming off the IL, 15-day IL stint with neck tightness. He was taken off the IL. Like we said earlier, Tom Cosgrove was put, or I should say optioned to AAA El Paso earlier today. So Cosgrove down to AAA. Darvish making the start here today off the IL, and that's a look at our injury report for both the Padres and the Reds before Game 2 of this three-game series. Now let's take a quick look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the Bigs and tell you about the scores you need to know in our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Meat, where great taste meets integrity.
We take a look at scores today from around the major leagues. Couple of finals already. Orioles have already beat the Yankees tonight, 4-2 in Baltimore. That was a big four-game series. This week in Baltimore, well, the Orioles won 2-0 last night. They win 4-2 here tonight, so the Orioles have taken the first two games of that four-game set. Other finals already today, just one other right now. Cardinals beat the Tigers 2-1 in Detroit. Game one of a doubleheader there. Games going on right now. Mets ahead of the Cubs 4-1 in New York in the 7th inning. Rockies and the Marlins tied at 5 in Miami in the 10th inning. Game 2 of that doubleheader in Detroit. Tigers ahead of the Cardinals 10-6 in the 7th. Royals ahead of the Blue Jays in Toronto 4-1, 8th inning there. Red Sox 4, Giants 0, 7th inning at Fenway Park. Twins and the White Sox tied at 2 in the 5th inning in Chicago. Brewers ahead of the Rays 6-1 in Milwaukee in the 5th inning. Nationals and the Rangers tied at 1 in Arlington in the 4th. Guardians and the Astros tied at 3 in Houston in the 4th inning. And games still to come today. Phillies and the Angels in Anaheim at 6:38. There was some major news for the Angels today. Mike Trout is getting surgery to repair a torn meniscus. He's going to be out a while, and the Phillies in town playing against the Angels tonight. Braves and the Mariners in Seattle at 6:40. And finally, the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks in Arizona at 6:40. Also a 6:40 start for the Pirates and the A's in Oakland. And that's a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Tuesday. Manny Machado spoke with the media inside the Padres clubhouse earlier today on a number of different topics. Spoke about facing his former teammate Nick Martinez, who takes the mound for the Reds here tonight, playing third base once again, and much more. Here was Manny inside the clubhouse earlier today.
You're going to get to see a familiar foe tonight in Nick Martinez. What was it like? What was your impression of him as a teammate when you had him here for 2 years?
I mean, he was awesome. I mean, he's a guy we definitely missed in here. Had a lot of energy, got along with everybody, and definitely a competitor out there on the field. So, he's a guy we definitely miss here.
What do you anticipate seeing from him in the box today?
I'm not sure. I haven't really done my report yet. just go out there and compete. I think at the end of the day, I think we got to go out there and compete as a group, and try to get Darvish some early runs early on, so you can go out there and pitch his game.
Defensively, how have you felt out there? Because there's been some plays where it looked like you never left.
Yeah, feel good. Taking it day by day, and definitely happy to be out there for sure. It's been fun.
How do you feel physically after playing a couple of days in a row? How's that process going?
Feels good. I mean, I've been playing now, 30-some games in. Obviously a little bit more intensity, a little bit more on my feet, but overall still feel good. Obviously it's a matter of building up my tolerance. But yeah, I mean, overall feel great.
Mike last night said he did not think there was a hangover effect from the Colorado game. What do you think is the impact of that game, if there is any, for this streak?
Yeah, I mean, it's you got to turn the page, obviously, and it hasn't really been going too well for us this homestand. I think we've been doing a lot of good things overall, but just haven't caught a good break. Haven't hit with runners in scoring position as good as we can. But overall, we got to stay with the process, trust the process. Continue getting better every single day, and I think obviously, we're not in a good funk right now, but, the guys come in here, they try to get their work in every single day. And I think if we continue doing that in the long haul, over a long period of time, things will, kind of even out. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely, it's not a good homestand for sure.
What kind of boost is it to get Darvish back?
Darvish? Yeah, I mean, huge. I mean, just having him healthy. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing is, have him healthy, and if he can stay healthy all year, obviously getting him, 15 days off to kind of like regroup and, get right is huge. So, having him tonight go up there, we couldn't ask for a better man to, get us back on track.
That was Manny Machado inside the Padres clubhouse earlier today, talking about Nick Martinez, talking about playing third base again, and much, much more. And we'll see how Manny does here tonight against the Cincinnati Reds. Again, Game 2 of this 3-game series coming up at 6:40 as the Padres try to snap a 5-game losing skid. Now let's give you our keys to the game.
How will the Padres unlock a victory in today's game? These are the keys to the game. Presented by Honor Buick GMC Hummer in National City.
We take a look at our keys to the game. Key number 1, slowing down Elly De La Cruz. De La Cruz hit a home run in the first inning last night, his 8th home run of the season. De La Cruz isn't just powerful, but we know he can also fly, slugging .687 with 8 home runs, 16 RBIs, 19 runs scored, 13 stolen bases in his last 20 games. He also has 18 stolen bases on the year. How about this? De La Cruz is the first player with at least 8 home runs and 17 stolen bases in a calendar month since 1901. His 18 stolen bases, also the most before May 1st, since Deion Sanders had 19 stolen bases before May 1 in 1997. That's what Elly De La Cruz is doing right now. Deion Sanders had 19 before May 1st in 97. It has been very impressive. It goes back to something we talked about a lot yesterday. The Reds run a lot. 52 stolen bases as a team entering tonight, tied for the most in baseball. Padres, though, actually didn't allow the Reds to steal a base in last night's game. We'll see if that trend continues here today. Key number 2, make Nick Martinez work early. Our old friend Nick Martinez on the mound for the Reds tonight. Of course, Martinez, a big part of the Padres pitching staff the last couple of years, a 3.45 ERA in 2 seasons with the Padres. And on top of that, to be honest with you, a good guy. A guy that was well liked here in San Diego. Somebody the Padres really enjoyed having here in San Diego. Now, here's what's interesting about Martinez so far this year. He has really struggled the second time through the lineup. First time through, a 200 opponent batting average, 200 on-base percentage, 244 slugging percentage, and a 27% strikeout rate. But the second time Nick faces a lineup, the second time through, that opponent batting average goes up 220 points to 420. The on-base percentage, 255 points up It's a 455. Slugging percentage at 640. Just a 9% strikeout rate. So there has been something to Nick Martinez facing a lineup the second time around. Keep an eye on that today. And obviously on top of that, Nick Martinez is somebody the Padres know really well. Key number 3, a dealing Darvish. Yu Darvish comes off the IL today after dealing with neck tightness. Padres really need you to be great today. Here's why. It's been a rough stretch for the Padres starting staff. A 5.85 ERA in this 12-game stretch. Padres are 3-9 in that span. And the contact against you before he went on the IL, it was hard. His average exit velo is up from 88 miles per hour last year to nearly 93 miles per hour this season. Half the batted balls against Darvish this year have been hit at 95 miles per hour or harder. That's a 50% hard hit rate. Only 4 major league pitchers have a worse hard hit rate this season with at least 50 batted balls against them. My point to saying all that, it had been very up and down for you before he went on the IL. The Padres desperately need him to be good tonight. Padres really need it coming in on a 5-game losing skid. And key number 4, stop playing from behind. It's something we've talked about a lot as of late. It just seems like the Padres are constantly playing from behind lately, and they have been. Look at the numbers. This was from Kevin Acee this morning in the San Diego Union Tribune. The Padres have trailed at the end of 35 of their past 38 innings, going back to when they lost their lead in the 8th inning on Thursday in Colorado. Grabbing a lead, playing from ahead, that would be amazing here tonight. We'll see if the Padres can do that in Game 2 of this 3-game series. And that's a look at our keys to the game. When we come back here on the Padres Radio Network, we'll tell you what to watch for in today's game. Plus, we dive into today's pitching matchup between Yu Darvish and Nick Martinez. First pitch coming up at 6:40 here at Petco Park. I'm Sam Levitt on the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as the Padres get ready for Game 2 of this three-game series. Padres come in 14-18. Reds come in at 16-13. Reds winning last night's series opener 5-2. Padres trying to snap a 5-game losing skid. A special shout-out to a young man who was just up here in the loft, joined me, hopped on the headset, was listening to our broadcast for a little bit. That's Hayden, a Padres fan, visiting the loft. So Hayden, great to meet you. Great to have you here. Hope you have a great time at tonight's Padres game as they take on the Cincinnati Reds here at Petco Park. Before we get to what to watch for in today's game and a look at our pitching matchup between Nick Martinez and Yu Darvish, I did want to read some of your keys to the game. You heard my keys to the game in our last segment, and many of your keys to the game, they were similar to one of mine, and that was mostly about the Padres not playing from behind tonight, grabbing a lead, getting ahead. Yu Darvish pitching a good game here tonight. Let's get to some of them here. We have Brian on YouTube saying, key to the game, get the lead and keep it. Brian, that's a good one. We've got Jed in Little Italy saying score first and tack on. Very similar from Jed. We've got Steven saying the key to tonight's game is simple. Just win by scoring more runs than the Reds. Play a clean game, no errors, no extra outs. Take it to the Reds offensively. Work the count and swing at strikes. Well, Steven, that is certainly a good recipe for a win. We've got another Steven on Instagram DMing in and saying the key is Darvish off to a good start first few innings and avoiding having to come from behind again. So a lot of keys here tonight about grabbing a lead, not playing from behind. We'll see if the Padres can do that here tonight. Now let's tell you what to watch for in today's game.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
What to watch for in today's game. Which Padres offense is going to show up here tonight? Last night was rough. No way around it. 23 consecutive batters retired at one point. They got a leadoff home run from Jurickson Profar, a two-out double in the ninth inning from Jake Cronenworth. There were no hits in between. Padres have lost 9 of 12. They're averaging just 3.5 runs per game in those last 12 games. They're batting just .225 as a team in that span. A big issue in the last 4 games in particular has been the performance of the big three, Tatis, Machado, and Bogarts. Those three are 6 for 45 with 1 extra base hit in the past 4 games. That's a 133 batting average in the past 4 games. Manny Machado does not have an extra base hit in his last 10 games, just 3 RBIs and 1 run scored in that span. It's the longest stretch he's had without an extra base hit since his days in Baltimore. So the bottom line is this. What are we looking for in tonight's game? The offense. What offense shows up? Can Manny get going? Can Xander get going? Can Fernando get going? You could argue, both here tonight and throughout the season, that is the biggest key to the Padres' success. That's a look at what to watch for in tonight's game against the Cincinnati Reds. Our starting pitching matchup here tonight, Yu Darvish on the mound for San Diego, Nick Martinez on the mound for Cincinnati. Let's dive in.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Right-hander Yu Darvish on the mound for the Padres, the 37-year-old coming off the IL after dealing with neck tightness. Here in 2024, 0-1, a 4.18 ERA in 5 starts, 23 2/3 innings, 22 strikeouts, 10 walks. His last start was April 14th in LA, went 5 innings, 3 earned runs given up in that start in LA. He's made 10 career starts against the Reds, a 3.34 ERA in those 10. Meanwhile, right-hander Nick Martinez, the 33-year-old on the mound for Cincinnati, spent all of 2022 and 2023 here in San Diego. Off to a sluggish start in 2024 with the Reds, 0-1, a 5.48 ERA in 5 outings, 3 starts, 23 innings. He's given up 30 hits in those 23, 17 strikeouts, only 2 walks. but a .316 opponent batting average as a Red so far. Last start against the Phillies, 6 innings, 5 earned runs given up, 11 hits, 1 home run allowed. 2 solid outings out of the bullpen before that. 2 starts to begin his season against the Mets and the Nationals, went 10 innings, gave up 8 earned runs combined. He's made 1 career outing against the Padres. That came all the way back in 2017 when he was with the Texas Rangers. So it's been a while since he's faced San Diego. Matchup to watch here tonight, Xander Bogaerts, 5 for 10 with a home run in his career against Nick Martinez. And that's a look at our starting pitching matchup between Yu Darvish and Nick Martinez. You've been listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network. EcoWater SoCal, your water should be perfect. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. When we come back here on the Padres Radio Network, Jesse Agler, Tony Gwynn Jr. have the starting lineups, first pitch, and then all the play-by-play. I'll talk to you on our postgame show. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network. Enjoy the game, everybody.